Let me start recording. So just
Yeah,
know that you're under recording. Anything that you say can be used in a YouTube video.
wonderful. Can't wait.
All right, and I'll share my screen. Let me.
Yeah, let me see. What's a good game? I'm assuming we're gonna do one that just did.
So I'm just gonna talk some high level stuff with you right now.
Oh, okay.
We can go over
That's
a
cool.
game at some
Sounds good.
point too if you want. We don't necessarily have to do it
Nah, we
tonight,
don't
which
need
I'm
to.
also down. But I want to talk about basically first the fundamentals of what I consider perfect is a hard word to use, but we'll say good Halo. So I play chess. I don't know if I told you that, but one of my chess players that I like to watch is Irina Krush, and she has a saying that there's like three important concepts in chess: um, space, timing, and harmony. And ironically, I think that that's like a perfect analogy for what's important in Halo too. I think we might have talked about this some before. I know I haven't talked to Kyle about it, but basically, space very simply is like how much of the map you control versus your other team, right? So if hopefully you can see my screen now, but
Uh,
is it showing? Tell me my
I
screen
don't
is showing up.
see anything yet.
You don't see tac maps up? Wait a
Oh,
sec.
watch stream. I got it. I got it.
There you go. You're figuring it
Yep.
out. You're on PC now. Okay,
Yeah.
so space. How much space on the map do we control versus how much space that they control, right? So off the start of any map, and I've got recharge up here. Hopefully that's pretty clear. But when we're talking about recharge in any map, off the start, nobody controls any space, right? Like we basically control this little corner of the map, and they control this corner of the map, and none of that stuff really matters. Um, and so off the start, a lot of times what you see is there's a race to collect important space. First, the camo's down low, so people are trying to run for it. The shock rifle's up, but it's also a matter of like pushing a line back. So you can imagine that like the map has an imaginary line that's kind of split like this off the front, and the person who controls the most space is the person who can push this line back. So if this guy gets up here, now we can reimagine that line to be more like, say, this, right? Because now we control this little bit of space, and we also control this bit of space. Um, Similarly, if the other team starts to push this way, then they start to push that line back in this direction. And again, some of this stuff is really high level theory stuff and may not matter too much in the moment to moment. But what I want you to be thinking of is how can we take space and use a tower advantage? And the most obvious way is to block spawns. We've probably talked a little bit about this before, but almost every map in Halo you can kind of split down the middle into four quadrants, and there's going to be like four spawn zones. I think I mentioned this in a video recently, but recharge is kind of weird because you don't split it like up vertically. You kind of split it like an X, and think of the zones as like A, right, and then gold, and then long haul, and then C, and like these are the four primary places that you spawn on recharge, right? Alex is either listening or he's not here. I'm not
Yes.
sure.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. That's
Yeah, I don't want to like go super interactive because I don't want you to just be like, yes, nod in your head or whatever. But I also want to make sure that you're here and I didn't just lose you. So
of
cool.
course.
Um, yeah, so there's four primary spawn zones. And the goal is to make the game easy on yourself. And how do you make the game easy on yourself? You put people in three of those zones and force the other team to spawn in a corner of the map. So there's different ways to do that. You can split spawn, or you can force them all to spawn in one spot and just kind of stand still. So a pretty good example would be like if we were, say, here, where do you think the other team's going to spawn?
Long haul.
Yeah, because it's the only place that doesn't have a person in it, right? So this is the only place that they can logically spawn. Now, what if number four knows that and starts to get greedy and goes to like right here? Where are they going to spawn?
Heaven
The
or on
answer
gold?
is we don't know.
We don't know. Yeah.
And so this is the problem with playing matchmaking and the problem with, you know, not like high level communication. And a lot of the reason why I say matchmaking comms are bad is because almost every matchmaking comm is hey, this guy is fighting a guy at C and he dies and he says, hey, there's a one shot on my X. And that doesn't really help us that much. Like if you're a high level player, you should be able to see that they're fighting, right? Like you can see that this is going on because he's got an exclamation point above his head. And so him just dying straight up, even if you come over here and kill this guy, first you're giving up the space that you were in. Second, we're just trading one for one. So it doesn't really benefit us that much. I mean, it's better than this guy being alive, but what are the chances that you're over here cleaning up some other kill anyways, right? And now you're taking your attention off of this guy to go fight somebody else. So it just kind of, I don't like matchmaking comms. And sorry, that's completely side point to this. So the whole original point is we want to take up as much space as possible because now this, if you can imagine the imaginary line of what space that we control, I would argue that space now looks, I mean, we don't necessarily control white, right? Because there's nobody in white, but the space looks something like this in the sense that the only place that they really control is this. And we have guns that are like all over the middle of the map, so they can't really go out in the open anyways. So they're pretty much trapped here. So space in my sense is like, where are we putting people and are we being effective with spreading out? Now, the key to space, in my opinion, is to understand when we are 4 alive or when we are up numbers, we want to spread out on the map and make our space big and constrict the area that the other team can be. Eli the Ninja talks about like herding cattle. You want to, you know, push the boundary in here and then push it in here. And then like the only place that they have to go is here. So you're herding them into a corner. And then when we start to get down numbers, or we start like these guys spawn and they're actually smart and they like, you know, maybe they double hit glass together, right? And they push this guy back and now he's one shot. And now your space is kind of falling backwards. Or maybe they kill him. When we start to get down numbers, we want to start to push our space back together because we want to use our numbers to fight out of the space. So hopefully that makes sense as far as just like a high level overview of what I consider space. The big
Yeah, that makes sense.
big key takeaways are when you see the opportunity, like, hey, we're 4 alive, they're 3 alive, or we're just 4 alive and we're set up really well. Let's start to push these boundaries back some until we hit resistance, right? We don't want to walk in and just die solo. Push our boundaries and constrict where they can go. And then as we start to die, you've got to recognize that. And you either have to, like, let's say you're the gold guy and these two guys are here and they're 4 alive. Can you realistically get to your teammates without dying? Probably not. So then you got to start playing like ratty, right? Like I've got to hide in a corner, or I've got to, you know, maybe take like a really passive route through the map to try to get back to them. And similarly, if these guys were like here and here, and you can get together, then you want to get together because we're down numbers. We got to put our numbers together to fight appropriately. Now, second thing that I want to talk about is timing. And we've talked about timing a little bit, but like timing your fights well. So the easiest way to demonstrate this is, I don't know. Actually, let's go back up to the other thing. Let's pretend we're red team now, and we are coming off spawn, right? And they've got the setup that looks pretty good. Like it's not perfect, right? Like they're still giving up all of this, so we can spawn at C or we can spawn long. And let's say we spawn like this. So bad timing would be number 7 spawns up and he just starts running this way and he sees this guy and he takes a fight, right? And like these two fight and maybe they trade, or maybe number 7 dies, or maybe number 7 gets the skill and now he's one shot and then this guy picks him off. So the reason that this is bad timing is because he is fighting when we're down numbers, right? And we don't have the opportunity for anyone to play off of his damage. So if he comes up here and gets this guy one shot and then he backs up and now this guy's one shot and can't move, like how does that benefit us any? Because nobody's spawned yet, right? Or maybe this guy just spawned. So good timing would be, hey, I spawned and I'm going to start to go this way because I want to get space towards this side, or maybe I want to go long haul and get space this way. But I'm not going to get into a fight yet because I don't even want to tell the other team where I'm at until I can get some reinforcements. So ideally, the number 2 guy is going to follow the first guy, and then you guys are going to like double hit this together, because it looks a whole lot worse for number 1 if he's standing here looking at this, if you like peek this at the same time, because he's going to get melted and die. And now we have the opportunity to move, and maybe number 8's already up by now, and he's like going through pipes and getting the shroud, and he's going to shroud bat ledge, and then they can, or sorry, a cat, and then they can run through, or he can shroud top gold, and then number 5 comes up and he's going this way. So the idea of timing is understanding, when to fight. When is it okay to fight? The other example I would have is, let's say all of this is already happening. These 2 guys are already in control. This guy spawned. He's got the shroud. Number 5 is up. What is number 5's job right now?
Flank.
Yeah, he can flank. He can go this way. He can also like go through the pit and jump up on the box and try to get in. Like if we say that this is strongholds, right, and they've got A and B, and they've just given us C because they don't play for trip caps or whatever, or maybe it's an oddball setup and like this guy's got the ball or whatever the case may be. Yeah, his job is to get into a flanking position, like he's playing weak side, which we'll talk about a little bit as well. Strong side, weak side. There's 3 people here. There's a weak side guy here. But his job is to do something fast, because these guys already have a couple seconds timing on him, right? Like they, as he's spawning, should be coming here, and his job is like, oh, I just spawned, I've got to go now. Like I can't delay. I've got to slide off this box and get going, because hopefully these are creating enough of a distraction, and then this guy shrouding all of this up here will create enough of a distraction that this guy can just go and he can be fast. Another example would be like a ball setup. And like your teammates, this happens a ton in matchmaking, are already in the fight, right? And you spawn. So there's 2 ways to think about this. I would say at like the diamond or low onyx level, the best thing to do is to just run forward. Like to just don't even worry about taking a route. Just like jump, slide off these stairs, get to this box as fast as possible. Hit every curb slide you can and get into the action as fast as possible. At a higher onyx level or up in like a pro lobby, they may argue like, I've spawned too late, this fight's going to be over by the time that I even get there, so there's no point for me coming. I've got to wait on the next push, and maybe I'm playing for the next play, so playing a slow play things. But in almost anything that you're going to do here soon, the idea is like, this guy's got to get into the fight as fast as possible. So those kind of timings, obviously there's still timings of like timing power weapons and other things and like setting up around those things, but the main thing is time your fight. You want to be fighting when your team is in a fight. You don't want to be fighting when your teammates are dead. And if your teammates are shooting their gun, you should be shooting your gun too.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
For that last example you gave for the flanker or the last guy up,
Yep.
I found myself in this situation a lot today, actually, or yesterday. I don't know. Anyway, I was getting to the fight late because I was that last spawner. They were already fighting,
Yep.
and I was like, they were 3 up or 2 up, or we were, we had 3 people alive, so I still should be pushing with them. But by the time I got there, they died. Should
Yep.
I be
And
turning around and going back, or just trying to get them to spawn close to me, which close to the hill or the objective, or
almost
what should I do
always in a higher level lobby, and if you can start to think this far ahead, almost always this kind of fight, which is not a good fight for our team, we shouldn't be fighting now, right? But it may have been the other thing. Maybe you were a little early and your teammates tried to finish, but you died too fast for them, and so because you died, wow, did I really just lose my little guy up there? Let me see. Can I? There he is. Bring him back down here. So maybe you were a little bit early and you died, and because you died, now your team is here and they're like, oh wow, right? And they're in a big long fight. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to hit the refresh button. Hang on, let's refresh this. Yeah, continue where I left off. Oh, look at that. That was nice. All right. Anyways, bring this guy back. So you were first into the fight, so it was actually your bad, but you killed a guy, so you argue with your teammates like, hey, I got a kill. That's all that matters, right? But then your teammates flood in, and these 2 guys catch him off guard, and they die, whatever, right? So now everybody's dead, and you had just spawned, and there's two of them up, right? And they're still scoring the ball or whatever. Realistically, yeah, if you're here and that fight was going on, you're not going to get there in time. You know, like these guys are still fighting. You're not going to get there in time to actually make a difference in it. So you need to be thinking like, what can I take advantage of? Because almost always, and again, higher level lobbies, this may be different. Like this guy could be actually looking for flankers or whatever. But almost always in like a diamond or a high, like a low to mid onyx lobby, this guy's just running back and fighting with his team, right? So they're all cramped up here. So because he's cramped up there, can you get into gold for free, right? Because now you have gold. And by the time that your team all spawns, and again, maybe you get 2 kills or whatever, you're in a much better position. Because when we spawn at blue now, and they're spawning back at A, that line that we talked about now looks like this, right? And we're back to more even footing. And I can tell you 10 times out of 10, and maybe these guys start walking back this way, it is sure a whole lot easier for these guys to just bully into this zone when you're here than when there's another guy here, right? Because you know what happens when this guy's here. He's just start beaming people. So yeah, if you can recognize those situations, and especially as you start to play more Team Halo, you can start to see, is this fight going to end before I get there? And almost always, if they're already shooting their guns when you spawn, the answer is yes. If they're not necessarily shooting their guns, but you see, like my teammates are really pushing, you got to start curb sliding and getting up the map as fast as possible, right? But if they are not in like a full-on brawl, then I would say you should be working to get into the fight. But if you can recognize the scenario and say, let me take up some more important space. Don't do this. Don't come up here and just stare at like this, because this is the worst spot to be, right? Like there's nothing that this is going to benefit us, because we're just going to spawn here and we're kind of back in the same scenario, right? Because they're just going to get gold back for free. And maybe it's not gold. Maybe they were with the ball in gold, and maybe your teammates collapse here, right? And your one teammate just hides around the corner and doesn't push. I don't know where that came from. But everybody dies, and now they've got the ball in pipes, right? So you're at C. Which way do you go? And yeah, again, assume that you're spawning as this fight is happening, right? Like, assume that you're spawning while your teammates are still here. So these guys are dying, and this guy dies, and there's still 2 alive, right? And it doesn't really matter if he's here or here. You just know that they're in goal because he's holding a ball right here, right? Or you know that they're in goal because you're watching your teammate's death cam. Yeah, so if you go gold, you're still kind of just running into 2 people, right? But if you can get to A, and again, they're going to spawn. I think we talked a little bit about spawns, and I told you there's 4 quadrants. So there's 2 primary reasons that people spawn places. Number 1, the most important thing is you're not going to spawn where your enemy is at. So the only situation that someone should spawn on top of you is if your team is doing this kind of thing, right? Where there's a person in each zone. Similarly, on some of the maps with like fixed spawns, like Aquarius, sometimes there's just not enough available spawns, so you get weird spawns, right? You can think of like Aquarius CTF, where people will just spawn on top of each other. Okay, this guy's freaking out now. I've really got to get my controls lined out for this. All right, we're good. So, yeah, so if you can get into this space, right, you were the last guy alive. Now you are, once again, pushing that line back, and maybe I'll do red just to, like, illustrate. Like, they're all spawning blue here. Or, sorry, well, they're blue, but they're spawning gold pipes. Meanwhile, we can spawn here because there's no one here. We can also spawn here, and maybe we can spawn here. But the goal is now they're trapped, right? And you've kind of flipped the map by being the last guy alive. So even though your team lost the fight, you might have won the war because you gave us better spawns, instead of just running into the fight and dying by yourself, like trying to clean up all the damage, or going in a direction, or just standing still, right? A lot of times the guys will be like, well, my teammates are all dead, I'm just going to stand in this corner. And you can't really be that guy either. If you're the guy who just stands in the corner, yes, you wait on your teammate to spawn and you push together, but you're also giving the other team the timing, which is what we were talking about, to get out of pipes, right? And they can get back into A. And again, sorry, there's just a million a million lines all over the place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So start thinking of the game more like chess, or like, I had teammates that really hated like this overview map, but I love it because it makes me think of the game in more simple terms. I'm not thinking about 3D space. I'm not thinking about hitting shots or strafing or anything. I'm thinking about pieces on a chessboard or pieces on a game board, right? And so if we can, kill two of these people, even though all of our teammates died, we may still be able to take some adjacent space to trap them, because maybe they all spawn here, or even if they spawn long or C and we all spawn here, this still looks good for us, right? Because the ball carrier is right here. Like, this guy right here has the ball, and I can tell you, I don't want this ball, but I can tell you, I don't think he wants this ball if we all spawned A, right? And
Yeah.
his teammates split across the map, or even if they split long haul, they'll probably spawn here because there's no one, like in the space. And complementary spawns is the second most important indicator of spawns. So, number one, again, is away from enemies. Number two is complementary spawn, so you spawn together. Number three is adjacent spawn. So I can tell you, like in this scenario, with us having no presence over here, if we had like one guy here, these guys are going to spawn adjacent to their teammates. So they're not going to spawn at C, they're going to spawn at the adjacent spawn. Now, if we had guys here, there's too much danger, they may split spawn, right? And obviously there's a lot of timing things we can talk about with split spawns. I don't want to take forever on this. We do it in strongholds, where we push, split two of them one direction and kill them as they're spawning, and then split and kill the other two.
Yeah.
So split spawns is a big thing in Halo, but it's also a tough thing to time, because the looser your team's timing is, the more likely it is that this guy runs in first and dies, and then this guy runs in second and dies, and then these two guys come in, and hey, maybe they trade out, but oh yeah, these guys had already spawned and ran up the map, right? Like, so it's tricky to split spawn people, but it's also something that if your team can get good at, it will help you a lot too. So that's space, that's timing. The last thing is harmony, and harmony is just kind of the glue that sticks all this stuff together. And it's what me, you, and Kyle were talking about earlier, where I say matchmaking is so hard because you've got guys doing so many different things at once. So if we reset the state of the board to like when we first spawn into the game, everybody's here, these guys are all over here, right? So what happens a lot in matchmaking is this guy's idea is I want to grab shock, and this guy's idea is I want to play for camo, and this guy's idea is I want to go, this way and flank around C and fight, and then this guy's idea is whatever, I'm going to go mangler door and shoot, right? And so you got four people doing four different things. I can tell you the most successful Halo teams are going to be doing like one or two things at a time. Like, they've got one or two ideas in mind of like, hey, we want to, fight for camo. So they're going to send three people strong side to fight for camo, and then this guy's going to play weak side and maybe try to shoot people off, right? Like, he's going to go here. Or they're going to be like, hey, let's, we want to play for camo, but we can't get flanks, so they're going to send two guys this way, and then this guy's going to meet them, and he's going to get fried. Meanwhile, this guy's playing for camo, and this guy's trying to come and support, or maybe he goes in the pit and support. So like they 2-2 split, or they 2-1-1 split. There's a bunch of different splits, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it too, because I think splits is what helps you to get back in games and in like Recharge or other maps where teams get like really setup heavy. But for the most part, if you can have somebody be the guiding voice of the team, and like, what makes this easier is when you talk about it with your team beforehand. Like, you say, hey, when we play recharge, what are we going to do? And I've had like as much time as I spent talking to you and coaching you and other people, there's countless hours of me just being in matches with my team. Like we do scrims, and then like between the scrims, we talk about, hey, let's try this idea, let's try this idea, and then whatever works, we start to put that into our bucket of ideas, and we do that. Then there's other times where we do VOD review, and we say, why did this go wrong, or why did this work well, and then we kind of cement those ideas as our team. So it's good to have like a bucket of tools, so to speak. Like these are my different things as a team that we can do, and then be able to go to them quickly. The other thing I will tell you, and the matchmaking truth of this is, unfortunately, a lot of times you have to just drop your ego and do what your teammates in matchmaking are going to do. But I've said before that there's no bad plays. There's just plays that are out of sync with each other. Like 4 people can make 4 different perfect plays, and it's going to be horrible because they're not doing things together. There's no harmony. If you get 2 people doing a harmonized play, like just these 2 people going together, this looks really good, especially in matchmaking. They only send one guy. This guy is just fried, right? But if we can get where our entire team is in lockstep of like, hey, we're going this way, and these guys are just going to run through, and then they're going to jump to Mangler Pit, and we know that their team likes to play this way, right? And we collapse. Like these 2 guys just turn around and collapse on this guy while these 2 are shooting them this way. Like this just looks really good as a team, and it's because we're all focused on the same thing. No one's like selfishly like, I'm going to go play for shock rifle because that's what I want. Or maybe your team, I've seen Ryan do teams before just be like, we don't even care about camo off the start. Let's just get map control, right? Because we're playing oddball and the ball spawns here. And if we just push and get control of gold pipes, who cares if they get camo? What are they going to do with it, right? So there's thoughts of that kind of thing too, like figuring out in harmony what can your team do to make a play. But in general, it's very hard to do that in matchmaking because, again, the comms that you're getting are one shot my X, or why are you pushing, you idiot, or what are you doing this, you idiot, right? Like that's what you're hearing in matchmaking. So just turn my comms off in matchmaking, and then if I want to play around my teammates, I just try to read the map. So I play a lot slower in matchmaking than I do with my team because I know what my teammates' general idea of what they're wanting to do is, and I can play off of them, and I'm also talking to them. Whereas in matchmaking, I don't know what my teammates are going to do, so I have to watch what they're doing more. So I try to read the map more and try to make plays off of my teammates, and I don't try to be the one that's like the play caller or whatever. Whereas in a team environment, I can say, hey, let's push a trip cap here, and everybody will do it because we trust each other. To be a successful team, you also just have to fully trust what your teammate says. If your teammate says to do something, you just have to do it. Um, Whoever the first one is with an idea, you do it. And then, if it doesn't work, then while you're respawning, you can say, hey, let's try this thing next if you have an alternate idea. But in matchmaking, you don't get that luxury, right? Because a lot of times you can say, hey, why are we not pushing long haul? And they will just meet you with, you don't know what you're talking about. Look at this kill death ratio or whatever. I'm the best player in the lobby because I'm just setting top top control and shooting across the map the whole game. Meanwhile, they're scoring and we're not getting any points. Sorry, matchmaking.
Yeah, I get it though. But in those games all day, I feel like, because I usually play by myself. So
Yeah.
just playing with Thermogenic today, it was a lot better, a lot easier. I felt like
Yeah, I
things
agree.
were going a lot more smoothly. Like,
And that's good. And now you guys need to start seeing those moments that you can put your heads together. Say you're the first spawner and he's about to spawn, and who cares? Even if these 2 guys spawn first, be like, hey, hit long haul with me, right? And you guys just double hit this and try to hit it as close to timing together. Like you guys jump on this box at the exact same time and you slide into pipes at the exact same time. Or you both go in glass at the exact same time and you turn and you shoot. These guys, God, the 2-person turn is really bad. But you turn and shoot at the exact same time and see how close you can get those timings together. And then as you go and you find more teammates or you get an HRL and you get more people on your team, then start to incorporate, okay, we can do a 2x2 push. What about a What about a 3x1? And we got a weak side guy. Like, send all these guys here. Or, we're going to push this way. Let's send these two guys the opposite way. Or maybe they go through pipes and grab the shroud and shroud for you. So you've got another guy, that's shrouding for you. Meanwhile, this guy's waiting to get up on this box with his teammate. So they shroud glass, you guys get through glass, and try to incorporate those ideas together. Because once you get into that harmonized state where you're just doing the same things and you're not playing for yourself and you're not playing for kills, you're just playing for, as a team, what is the best thing to do. And there's not a bunch of chaos, because I know a lot of times, and I've been on teams before, where everything's just chaos because you can't ever get that second to actually formulate a plan because everyone is always in their own fight. Like, hey, we might be 4 people playing together, but like I'm already fighting this guy while you guys are spawning, and then number 8's going to come off spawn and he's just going to walk to whatever, see plat, and shoot a guy here, and then this guy's like, well, I'm going to go fight my own fight, right? And maybe there's a guy in control and he's fighting, and then this, whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of times that even in a quote unquote team environment, or even if you're in matchmaking with 4 people talking together, that you're not actually playing as a team. It's better to play a little bit slower, like give up a couple seconds of ball time, give up a couple seconds of a stronghold, if you can get your team in sync. And the really good teams will start to cut away at those seconds that we're giving up and just be faster about getting into those organized positions together. So yeah, that was a 30-minute TED talk on space, time, and harmony, but hopefully some of that made sense.
I like it.
Yeah, you can have any questions about that.
I think I'm good. I think I asked the question already, I think.
Cool.